Okay, so it's Thursday of webinar with Stella, Train with Stella. So we are following on what we, 1 second, I just need to close the door because my boyfriend is also having his webinar downstairs. So I just wanted to recap on the topic that we touched bases upon last week, and it was, of course, sleep. So we went through some questions and answers that you guys left in the group. Maybe this week assistance to this webinar is lower than last week because perhaps I forgot to ask if you guys had some questions, but I already said that we were going to have a look into some tips to manage to get a better sleep. So without further ado, what I'm going to do, I am going to go ahead and share my screen as I have a presentation ready for you. And in here, if I just move this around, there is a kind of a recap of what we looked at last week. And if I can read this to you, the only problem is that if someone wants to join the meeting, I wouldn't know. Yes, I still have the access in here. No problem. Just 1 second. I think someone is trying to. So, as of last week, I'm not getting any distractors. I have everything under control now. So sorry about that. Apologies. But as of last week, what we touched bases on, and I hope you all watch the record from the last week call, is obviously why sleep is so important and how we can improve the quality of sleep. But before going into the tips or what we call sleep hygiene, we mentioned why sometimes stuff such as having bright lights in front of you might cause you to kind of lose your circadian rhythm. So the circadian rhythm is determined by the time that the sun is out. So as human species, we are meant to function during the day when the sun is out, and that's why obviously we perceive the light by our eyes, but our skin also have some receptors which will then take the light if it's from the sun, or now with all of this new technology, we have computers, we have TVs, we have really bright lights in the house. So for the body, it's really hard to identify which of these lights are actually fake and which ones are the sun. And so that's why it's advised to, after a period of time, like after, let's say, 7, 8 maximum, start to kind of disconnecting from all your electronic devices, start to fix your house lighting in a way that you are preparing your body to go to bed. Now, before I move into the tip of how to get a better sleep, I just wanted to highlight some of the problems that we didn't manage to. Someone is just, hello, hello, Luam. So if you can hear me, it's just you and myself at the moment. And as you can see, I was going through a presentation of what we touched bases on last week. And I was just replying actually to the question that you made last week, but that's on the last week record. I was about to go through some of the issues or some of the problems that the lack of sleep might bring or might cause to our health. And some studies have shown for certain that if you don't have enough sleep, and now we discussed as well last week how many hours of sleep you really need, and we went through and we discussed with the ladies who were in last week call that it really doesn't, I mean, it's very it is really hard to say, okay, you need 6 or X amount of hours to sleep, but it's been by many doctors who have obviously studied the topic. It's been advised anything from 6 to 8 hours. And if you do exercise or any activity that is obviously like the ones we do, weightlifting, or any exercise that is demanding from your body, you should add 1 hour of sleep per every hour of exercise that you do. So on last week again, we said that, for example, I find that my sweet spot for sleep is nothing less than 8 hours. If I don't sleep 8 hours, I wake up and I feel a little bit lost. My energy levels are lower on the day, and I just don't feel 100% myself on the day. And because also I train most of the day, 1 hour a day minimum, then I tend to sleep around 8 hours and a half, 9 hours. We also discussed how, not because you are sleeping 10 hours, so it doesn't, so you need to find the right spot that is convenient for yourself. And it also is not about more is better, because if you sleep, let's say, more than 10 hours, and I think this is something that you can identify yourself, you then also fall into the other end of the problem, which is sleeping way too many hours. And that again gives you the same side effects that not enough hours of sleep will give you, which will be to have cardiovascular disease, be more prone to diabetes type 2, have some sort of chronic inflammation disease, and in many cases it leads you to anxiety or depression, both of which are very connected one another. So the reason why not sleeping enough will give you anxiety or depression, it first start by giving you anxiety, and then it can then lead you to depression because of how long you've been or how bad the anxiety has affected you. But the real reason behind it is that we know our brains is, I mean, nowadays there is more the belief that we have two brains, which is the main brain, and then we have the guts, which is our second main brain. But in fact, the brain, the one we call the brain, is the one that is in charge of making sure that at night we reset our body for whatever we lived on that day, which means that during the REM sleep, we will reset all the information that we gather on the previous day. And it's also when all the brain activity gets kind of, yes, reset as well. But at the same time, if you don't get enough REM sleep, it means that your brain is not recovering properly, and then long term that might give you to have like some brain fog, Alzheimer's disease, or sometimes even dementia in old days. Now, if you, for example, the opposite, have a lot of REM sleep, which the normal average is anything between an hour to 2 hours. More than 2 hours REM sleep is showing you that there is a lot of brain activity during your sleep. And the only way that this happens is either if you are under a lot of stress, or if you are under some medication that is making your brain overact at night. Then we also have the deep sleep, which again, the normal deep sleep to have is anything between 1 hour or 2. Uh, if you have more than 2 hours of deep sleep, God bless you, because you are very lucky. There is no side effects of having longer deep sleep as there is on REM sleep. But there is, of course, side effects of not having deep sleep at all. And that means that your body, or your physical body, is not recovering from the functions that you had on the previous day, and that's what's gonna cause you waking up groggy, having to get the coffee first thing in the morning, and not feeling your best during the day. So that is what we discussed on last week. I was just recapping on the things that we touched on last week. By the way, Luan, if you don't want to talk loud, but if you have any questions, there is a chat somewhere at the bottom here, and you can ask some questions. And I believe that if you do ask some questions, it will pop up in here for me, so I will be able to see them somehow. There you go, chat. That is the chat. Okay, that's you saying thank you. So as I was saying, today we are going to focus on the tips to get a better sleep. But just because before going into that, I just wanted to kind of recap a little bit more on what we touched on last week. And yes, so when it comes to sleep, and the reason why, and this is something that I touched, or I spoke about it last week as well, the reason why it's not the same to sleep, and this is going to be very personal to you. The reason why it's not the same to sleep, let's say 8 hours during the day, as it is to sleep 8 hours at night when you're meant to sleep. The reason why it's not the same in terms of recovering for the body is because, as I explained before, our body is meant to function when there is light. And in order to do so, in order to get into a very deep sleep, it's recommended to have like a almost a black, like very black or dark room. Also a room that makes you want to feel that you want to be under the duvet. So now that's why we experience in summer, there is a lot of sleep disruption, or there is a lot of people struggling with the sleep during summer here in London, because these houses are not made for summer, so it gets really warm, and therefore all the rooms get really warm, and then everyone starts struggling with the sleep. That is already telling you, or it should be telling you already, that the temperature of the room when we sleep is very, very important, for us to have a better sleep quality. So you want to have a room temperature of around 20 degrees, 22 degrees, let's say at most, but not more than that. And the reason being is because the body will drop the body temperature when we are into deep sleep. And if the outside temperature is greater than our own body temperature, then we will feel that difference, even bigger difference, and it will sometimes even wake us up from our sleep. And or if it doesn't wake us up from our sleep, it does wake me up sometimes when the room is too hot, and I need to open the door, or I need to come up here and just sleep by myself, because my partner, he he kind of like exhales a lot of heat from his body. So sometimes I just need to come and sleep by myself. I have a sofa bed just next to my desk, if that happened, and that's because for me sleep is a very sensitive topic. So we want to make sure again that the room temperature is adequate for us to be able to have that amount of time into a good sleep. Now, if I move the page in here, and I'm gonna get myself smaller because I don't need to see myself, and you are not in camera, so we can just have a look at some tips on how to improve sleep. So I think I have touched all those tips with you already, but it will be nice to recap all of them, as it will help all of the ladies. We didn't manage to touch this last week, and it's really nice that you are here because this was actually your questions. If I can recommend any tip on just pre-workout before the morning session. Okay, I will answer to that after. So what would you suggest as a good pre-workout before a morning session if you feel tired, caffeine free? All right, so in terms of pre-workouts, and the reason why you're doing this question, I believe, is because I said to you, or I said to all the ladies on last week call, that when we wake up in the morning, we should try the best to stay away from the caffeine first thing in the morning, just because when we wake up is when our cortisol is high, and it stays high for the next 2 hours of the day. So if we on top of that have a cup of coffee, then we know that the cortisol is going to get even higher, and then the crash is going to be twice as hard. It's like if you just climb twice the mountain and then you just throw yourself from up there. Instead, you should really use the energy from your own cortisol in the morning, and have the coffee later on when the cortisol has already dropped down and you need to get more kind of focus into work, as we know that caffeine has a lot of benefits in the cognitive behavior are on the way that we can, or the ability for us to focus on to a specific target. And I will say that my target in this case will be working. Now, if you are training first thing in the morning and you wake up feeling really, really, really tired and not motivation at all, I will say give a go to just see how you feel without even considering or relying on any pre-workout. Just wake up and try to get yourself into the zone. Do an extra 5 minutes of cardio if you need to get yourself awake. That has worked really well for some of my clients, as I have some of you who, most of you actually, who train first thing in the morning. Some of them, they just have an apple and then they hit the gym without caffeine. And they have found that doing a 5 minutes, or even, like 10 to 5 minutes into any cardiovascular machine will kind of wake them up, and the body will then start using its own energy, and then be able to crack on with the workout. Now, if you already have tried that and it's not working for you, you still feel very lethargic, because I know you are changing your lifestyle, and I know you're trying to adapt your circadian rhythm to be able to sleep at night and then go to the gym first thing in the morning. Then in that case, yes, there are a stimulant-free pre-workouts that I can recommend to you. However, because they are stimulant-free, they will not give you the kick that you so much looking to get. And what I say with this is they will give you the focus, because some of them have taurine, and perhaps they might give you the ability to endure the workout in the morning, but you will not find that kick that you're looking to get, same kick that you get when you have your first coffee of the day, or when you have coffee first thing in the morning. So that's one thing that you need to be aware. I don't remember the name of the pre-workout, but it's basically, if you just type in Google pre-workouts with non-stimulants, there is very few brands that have a pre-workout with non-stimulant, and I have one downstairs, so I can go and check this after the call, and I let you all know what the name of the pre-workout is. However, I will, because of a really bad experience with pre-workouts, what happened is that the mind is really powerful, yeah? And we should be able, or we should have the capacity to control our body and our mood in such a way that we shouldn't need an external stimulation in order for us to do a workout. If we do need so, it means that either one, sleep quality is not the best. Two, the enjoyment on the workout is not there. Or three, we are lacking on the internal talk that we are having with ourselves to get ourselves into the mood to do the workout. Now, the reason why I became really almost afraid to recommend pre-workouts to people, clients, is because of how addictive these substances become. Even if they have no even if they have no stimulants, they become addictive because of the placebo effect. So you know that in the morning when you're having that pre-workout, you think, or you're giving yourself, you are giving the power to that powder to make you feel like you can endure the pre-work the workout, when in reality, if you take the powder away, you should be almost equally able to do the workout. So it's a matter of adaptation, and I'm not saying it is easy. I was for many years trapped into the belief that I needed to have a pre-workout before my sessions. I actually got one of the strongest pre-workouts that there are out there, which is the Grenade. Is called like a bomb. Is a bomb actually. It has all of the stimulants that you can imagine, and it's so strong that if you have it and you then don't train because X of Y reason, literally you have no focus whatsoever because your head is all over the place. And it was so bad, it used to put me so much into the sympathetic state that then it used to make me feel even angry, and I used to get really angry when I was working out, which meant at the end that I was losing all the purpose of working out for enjoyment, for health, and for it to just give me all the benefits that the workout gives. I just finished a webinar with Nicola's sister about the brain health, and she was obviously talking about how working out, both cardiovascular and weights, are so important for our brain health, but also how when we are under a lot of stress is so detrimental for our brain health. And why, whilst having a little bit of a stress, why am I talking stress? It will make sense in a little bit. Whilst having a little bit of a stress is good for you, having a lot of stress is definitely going to do the opposite effect on you, which means that it's going to impair your ability to actually burn fat during that workout, because you are so stimulated that your cortisol is so high that you actually lose the ability to burn fat, build muscle during the workout. So I will highly challenge you, because I know you're trying to switch from night time gym to the morning gym. I will highly challenge you to. Hello, Sylvia. We're just gonna carry on with the presentation. I was just answering a question to Luan. She asked me what can I recommend to have as a pre-workout if you want to do a workout first thing in the morning. And funny enough, this is a conversation that I had with you this week. So I was just about to tell Luan what I told to you, which is basically try not to have the coffee first thing in the morning. Go do your 5 minutes on your bike. And something that we're doing with Sylvia that we're not doing with you, Luan, is that with Sylvia we are having creatine as a pre-workout. I haven't recommend you to use creatine yet, because of all the other issues that we need to sort out with you. But at some point, when we feel that your inflammation and everything else is under control, I will, if so, recommend you to use creatine first thing in the morning. So now, when you take creatine as a pre-workout, it's gonna give you the kick, but it's not, again, it's not the kick that you get from stimulants. It's a different type of kick. You're gonna feel more power. You're gonna feel that you can, for example, do one more set instead of just two, and you're gonna feel that you're less likely to feel fatigue. So if you can ask your, and this is for Luan, if you can ask your doctor, Luan, next week, if there is any problem of you taking creatine, and if she gives us the green light, then I will consider to use this instead. Anyway, as I was saying, I don't like recommending pre-workouts to anyone, and I don't think people need pre-workout, especially for the type of training that we do. If you were a competition athlete and you have to endure 3 hours training after, I don't know, having an 8-hour shift of work, then I will say perhaps you need the kick from the pre-workout. But trust me, the side effects are so bad that you don't want to fall in the trap of having the pre-workout, because then it becomes more a mental thing than a real benefit from the pre-workout per se. But in the meantime, you are slowly making a hole into your nervous system's health, and especially if you are already prone to anxiety and depression. So please, pre-workouts are not a game, especially there is no a rule that control what they put on these pre-workouts, and there has been many cases in which they launch a pre-workout and it claims to be fantastic because of the drive and the focus that it gives you, and then 2 years later that pre-workout is no longer seen in the market. And why? Because they found out that there is a substance in there that it was almost like having a recreational drug. So that is the message behind it is, don't use it, don't start it if you haven't. I have taken grenade before many years ago. Sorry, I'm just reading the questions. Sylvia, this is for you as well. I'm not able to see any of you at the moment because all I can see is my presentation or what you see at the moment in my computer. I actually don't know if are you guys seeing the presentation behind?
Yes, we can, but we're just not turning on the cameras because, you know, I just literally finished the workout, right? So
okay. I know Luan is a little bit shy, so she doesn't.
No, I'm here. I'm not that shy.
Are you? You're not that shy.
Yeah, it's you, but I can't see myself. But
okay, so you can just talk, even better, because then I'm not good at reading, and then you see me doing like this.
It's quite hard.
Just so you were saying that you used to take grenade before many years ago, and so you understand I tried to shortcut it before. Yes. So if you use grenade in the past, you know how strong that thing is, and you both know about my sleeping problems, and most of my sleeping problems were driven by me abusing from grenade pre-workout and a lot of coffee during the day for many years. So it's not like you're gonna have one scoop of grenade and then you're gonna suffer from sleep straight away. But what I was trying to explain is that if you can do the best you can not to use a pre-workout, then please do so, because you should be in the power, or you should be strong enough to take control of your body and to get yourself into the mindset of getting the workout done. Trust me, it's only the beginning that is the hardest, when you do for a workout first thing in the morning. But once you get those 5 to 10 minutes of cardiovascular and some activation, then you're good to go. I don't know, how is your experience, Sylvia, these mornings after me telling you not to have the coffee?
And to be honest, like I never drank coffee in the morning. It's only when I'm tired. It's just I don't even know whether that helps me, to be honest. I was only drinking it because I was like, okay, I need something, right? Uh, but to be honest, now I don't drink it in the morning. I only drink it around, I don't know, 10, 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Something like
After your and another question I wanted to ask you, because we started the creatine this week, well, you actually started it last week, but we started taking it in the morning. Have you feel any difference?
yeah, but to be honest, I can't believe that it's so quickly because I feel, like I have superpowers, honestly, versus previous week.
Okay, Luan, just to get you in context, so Sylvia, we started training last week. So Sylvia is the one that has a twin. That doesn't have anything to do with this, but that, just so you know who Sylvia is. So with Sylvia, we started training last week together, and she was really, really, really struggling with recovering because she stopped like strength training for a while. And then she self prescribed herself a creatine. But what we did, I told her, because one day, that was Monday, she sent me a picture in the morning that she was ready to have the workout, and then I saw the cup of coffee, and then I asked her straight away, why are you having coffee? And then what I told her instead was to have the creatine with the apple first thing in the morning, and that should give you enough boost for you to get your workout done. Now, for you, Luan, I'm sure that there is not side effects or whatsoever when it comes to using creatine for the health problems that you're facing at the moment. However, I want to be completely sure, as there is maybe a relationship between inflammation and the creatine, in the way that when you start consuming creatine for the first month, your body will retain water. So this water that you retain is not the same as the water that you retain when you have a big carb meal, because the water that you retain after having a big carb meal is subcutaneous, which means that you can actually pinch it in your belly. But the creatine water retention happens intramuscular, which basically is just gonna make your muscles look a little bit more full. It's like I say to Sylvia, it's like having a very dry apple and having then a very juicy apple. So that will be what the creatine will do. But at the same time, what the creatine does is crazy. It helps you a lot with recovering, so you are more likely to be ready next day for your next session. And with long term of use of the creatine, then you're gonna start increases the ability for the body to build muscle mass. And very recently there has been a lot of studies about the creatine and the effects on Alzheimer, and a lot to do with the brain. So if you can ask, if I can get like a green flag from your doctor, we can start implementing creatine with you first thing in the morning, and then you will also feel the benefits of recovering faster from the workouts. Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right. Now we were about to go through the tips of a just want to get this out, it's not getting out. Tips to get a better sleep. So the first tip, as I just been talking about it, is having less caffeine. So we just discussed that having caffeine first thing in the morning is not good, because you should just use your natural cortisol levels. And you should ideally minimize the caffeine consumption to 2 doses or a day, or 400 milligrams of total caffeine is the most you should be consuming in a day. And remember that caffeine is not only present in coffee, it's also present in any black teas and most of the herbal teas. So you need to make sure that the total amount of caffeine that you're consuming is not over 400, and hopefully it wasn't even 400, 300 milligrams. And also do your best to take your caffeine or your last portion of caffeine at 2 p.m. because once you take caffeine, it says in here, it takes 6 to 8 hours for the body to get rid of the caffeine in your metabolism, which means that if you then have a coffee at 5 p.m., which you used to do, Luan, when we started, that's why you were wide awake still very late at night. And if on top of that you then add on that you go late to the gym, so you get more stimulus, and then on top of that you get into the screen until very late at night, then we are continuously stimulating the sympathetic nervous system, which is our enemy when it comes to wanting to go to sleep. So we talked about the two nervous systems last week, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. One is fight or flight, the one that you want to have when you are about to do an physical activity, or when you are in danger, or a yeah, I will say those two. And then the parasympathetic is when you are when you wanted to rest and digest. So when you want to be focused working, I know working is not rest, but also you can focus on your work if you are too hype. I don't know if you have ever had a really strong coffee and then try to focus on your screen. For me, it's like if the letters jump one from the computer and then nothing makes sense. So first of all, cut down caffeine intake to 300 to maximum 400 milligrams a day. If you don't know how much is that, so a cup of coffee, black coffee, one shot of espresso has around anything from 80 to 120 milligrams per serving. If you do have those like an espresso or dolce gusto machines at home, they tend to have lower than the normal than the coffee that you get from either Pret or Starbucks. Those tend to have stronger content just because of the way it's made. That they grind the bean and then it just has more content. So if you, for example, have a double shot black Americano, that already has 240 grams of coffee, which means that you only have left like 60 grams. That you can find that in maybe a green tea. Another thing that has that is stimulant but is not so bad is actually the dark chocolate. So in here there is dark chocolate and wine. In here there is a kind of bipolarity, because although the dark chocolate and the wine, they are considered stimulants somehow, if you have a limited portion on dark chocolate, I will say 10 grams the maximum, and on a wine or red wine I will just have a 100-200 ml max, then that is enough, and it will not give you the same like a stimulant effect, just because they are packed with magnesium as well, and antioxidants for the red wine, so that will help you. It will kind of nail the stimulant effects from the cacao. Is that clear?
Wait,
Yeah.
So you said 100 to 200 mil for the
Yes.
wine.
In fact, I was just as I talked to you, I was on a webinar about a health brain health, and she suggested to have just maximum 2 milliliters of red wine, but no more than that, because more than that, what happens is then the alcohol, which is passive, but then I mean the alcohol plays two rules. It's meant to be a sedative, and that's why so many people fall into alcohol when they have problems with the sleep. But the problem is that in reality it's also an stimulant, and that's why when you drink a lot and you kind of pass out, 2 hours later you wake up, or the sleep that you get is actually not a very good quality of a sleep. And this is something that we also need to be aware. It's not about the amount of sleep, that is about the quality of sleep that you spend. Yeah, so this is why we're talking about the tips, just to make sure that we are working towards having a better quality of sleep. I'm not saying that we're working towards having more sleep. As I explained already, having more sleep is also detrimental for the health. We just need to have enough sleep that when we wake up we feel refreshed. Although sometimes it's only normal, like by Friday, if you have had a very busy week, a lot of stress, mental and emotional, and maybe physical as well, is only normal. It's life, that we're not gonna just wake up fresh like a cucumber every morning. There are days that are gonna be harder than others, but if waking up like groggy and in a bad mood and with low energy is your common determinator, then we need to look at your quality of sleep and your sleeping patterns. Okay, so if we move on to the second tip, which I mentioned before, none of you were connected by then, is sleeping in a low temperature room. So it says about 20 degrees or 70 Fahrenheit. Great. The reason being is because, well, you have all experience in summer when it gets really hot, everyone suffers with the sleep, because London houses are not made for sunny days or sunny weather. So the house, they get inside really hot, and then it's really, really hard to sleep. And the reason being is because when we are on a deep sleep, or after our deep sleep, our body temperatures, they drop down. And so you know that there needs to be a kind of like similarity between the external temperature and your body temperature. So a normal body temperature is about 36 degrees, but it drops down to quite, I don't know exactly the number, but it drops down to about 16 degrees.
Yeah, that's what I've read somewhere as well, because I had
Yeah,
issues with
so
in the
it
past.
dropped down
To help
60
me.
yeah, so it drops down to 60 degrees. So if our body is 60 degrees when we are asleep and the outside room temperature is 25, there is obviously gonna be a massive difference between the external temperature and the internal, and that is gonna cause sleep I don't know how to say sleep disruptions, because we start feeling really, really hot. And it has happened to me many times that I have to wake up in the middle of the night because I'm boiling hot, and it's just because I sleep with my partner, and he literally at night his body goes in cold by. It's like if he exhales all the heat from his body, and then if the room is not in the right setting, because our electricity is all done by the phone, and sometimes we might forget to fix it before going to bed. If we didn't change the settings from the day to the night, I can really feel it. So I always wake up like about 1 or 2, and then I check the temperature, and it's because I didn't change it. So we want to have a very dark room with a very cold temperature. That is also really pleasant to sleep somewhere when you want to be under the duvet, and quite cozy to be down there. Now, sleep 3. Unless you have any questions so far, are we good with questions?
I have a question, but it's not. I don't know if it's covered here, but maybe it's, you might have done it last week. But about digestion, in terms of what time should you stop eating if you're going to give yourself 2 hours, 1 hour to sleep?
So that question was done last week, but I can reply it again, don't worry. It really depends. For example, the person who did that question last week was Sandra, and she eats really late. She eats at 10 and she goes to bed like at 10:30. But the reason why that is not a problem for her is because she grew up that way. I mean, since she was a kid, she always ate very late. So somehow her body has adapted and she hasn't suffered from sleep problems. She wakes up full of energy. We did all the sleep questions with her, and she has literally no problem with the sleep. She even says that as soon as she puts her head in the pillow, she just passes out. But in someone like her, or for example in cultures like Italian, Spanish, they tend to eat really late, but they also go to bed a little bit later. It does make an impact on your sleep quality. It's recommended to eat about minimum 2 hours before you go to bed, and that meal should, say again.
Sorry. Yeah, it also depends what you eat and how much as well, right?
Exactly.
That would be
I was about to say that it also depends on what you eat. Sandra, for example, at night she doesn't have a big meal. She mainly has fish or easy digestible meals and vegetables. So it's nothing that is really really heavy. But if you then try to eat, I don't know, a big steak with loads of potatoes just before going to bed, then that will definitely, I mean, I cannot eat a steak and then go to bed because my body is still so focused on digesting that I can conceive sleep. Or the opposite will happen, which is that you will then go to sleep, but then that food stays on your stomach. Is food that gets undigested, and then that might cause inflammations on your bowels, and then you might feel like a lot of maybe air, or also gaining weight because you went to bed with your belly full and you didn't give the body the opportunity to break down that meal. Okay, does that answer your question, Luan?
Yeah, that's what I expected. Yeah,
What
because
time do
obviously,
you normally eat?
so I usually eat around this time, but because I'm sleeping earlier, I know I have to eat a bit earlier too. So I would usually go to sleep like around, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 before.
Yes.
So now that I'm sleeping like around 10, 11, I'm like winding down. It means I have to eat like now around 8, 8:30. Eat something lighter.
For example, I always, my boyfriend is super strict with the schedule, and he's the cook on this house. So by 8, I need to literally run downstairs and have the meal. So yes, if you're aiming to go to bed at 10, 10:30, then by 8, 8:30 have your last meal. Okay. All right. Now we're going into sleep number 3, which is electromagnetic. Basically what it's saying is just to make sure that you have all your electromagnetic device away from your bedroom. And if you cannot, then try at least to have, for example, I need to sleep with my phone on the side. I don't know why. I sleep with my phone on the side because deep inside my head, I'm always concerned about my mom being away. So if something happened to my mom and then she's trying to call me and I cannot get the phone, that's the reason why I cannot sleep with my phone away, because I'm always afraid of not having my mom calling me. And it has never happened in 12 years, but that's what I think. So what I do instead is I leave it next to my bedroom, like the side bed, but then I will put it on airplane, because even if it's on airplane, my mom can still call me on a normal phone number, not on data, but on the phone number. So I will suggest you to do the same. If you have TV, computers, and all electromagnetic devices, get them out of your room. Find a better place for them. There is also more and more studies about how all of these waves are so detrimental for our health that we're not even aware yet, because we haven't been long enough under these waves for the doctors to come up with an outcome of, oh, this is what this is doing to your health. But for the sleep, definitely get them out of the room. You will feel a lot better. Like I have all my electric devices in here, and then in my room is only my phone, and my phone will be on airplane. That's why I don't get any of your notifications either when I'm asleep. Okay. How many devices do you guys have in the room?
Just my phone.
Okay. So from tonight,
I went through that way. I tested all of it. So I had in the past, no, doesn't work. so everything out, and now I'm happy I can sleep.
Yeah, it makes a difference. Like TV, everything out. When we used to share, before moving to this house, I used to share with another couple, and we used to have our TV inside of the room because we wanted to watch TV until late. Well, late until 10. That's my way to wind down. I know I shouldn't, but in reality, when I watch TV, I'm not really watching. I'm just like letting the noise of the TV like kind of like sending me into sleep. And then when I'm feeling really sleepy, then my boyfriend turn off the TV and then we go to bed. But before, we had to have the TV inside the room, and then we were more likely to extend the sleeping time until we just said, okay, at 10 we switch everything off and we go to bed. Now, clean your mind. It means that this is my book. I don't know if you guys can see. I cannot see anyone, but this is my book that is always next to me. I'm old-fashioned, so my to-do list, it goes endless, and I always like to write it down as opposed of using a lot of electrical applications that there are in there. And I know I have a lot of things to do on my day. However, by 8 p.m. every day, what I do, I stop whatever I'm doing because I already experienced burning out. And thank you for that, Sylvia. I already experienced burning out, so I don't overwork anymore. I think that if I work from 9 to 8 every day is long enough, and whatever I get done from 8 onwards is not gonna get done well because my level of focus is gone now after so many hours of being sitting down here or just purely working. So what I do instead, I look at my priority list, and what I do is I write down what I have to do the next day. And what that does is that I never used to do this, but I used to have the report of the stuff that I had to do in my head. Yeah.
You're thinking, right? Like your mind is not going around.
Exactly. So there is a saying that I listened literally yesterday on a podcast that I was listening that says, if you leave the thought inside your head, the thought is gonna keep making noises. When you write down the thought in a piece of paper, or you write it down on the computer, whatever you want to write it down, then the thought passes from being into your head to be physical into something. In this case, a piece of paper, and then it has not side effects. It has two benefits. One is to get that out of my head. I know that tomorrow when I wake up, these are the first thing that I need to do. I have more things to do. I just haven't finished the day. But then tomorrow when I come up here to start working, I already know that the first thing that I need to do is that. So first is gonna help you to win the morning because you already have clear what are your main goals or main stuff that you need to get done that day. And second is gonna help you to wind down at night because you already took all those thoughts out of your head and put it in a page of paper. Yeah. Now, this doesn't have to be only related with work. Like if there is something that is bothering you, I don't know, many things can bother people. For example, the time that my uncle wasn't well, of course I was really sad. I was very sad about my mom losing her brother, my whole family being sad, and those were feelings that I was suppressing until one day I say, this is really affecting me. And one night I just stood here, didn't want to eat. I say, Mateo, I'm sorry, I just need to write down. And I wrote everything down. I wrote like a love letter to my uncle, like me saying goodbye to him. After I finished that letter, it's like magic, literally. Once you get whatever is bothering you, whatever is giving you like that pressure on your chest, once you put that on paper, it's not gonna give you the solution, but at least it's gonna stop bothering you there and then. So then day after you look how to cope with whatever emotion you're feeling. Okay, so I'm aware of the time, and but I still want to finish the tips, which are clean your mind. That's it. So sleep aids. So this is where we are talking about supplementation. I think Smita asked if we are still on. Oops. No, she didn't come in. Okay. So, and this is something that I discussed with you, Luan, actually. So I am going to send you this book, by the way. This is a PDF that I created a while ago, but I'm going to send you this. So instead of me running you through all the stuff that you can use, and it's all natural, you will not you will not get any side effects from any of these recommended stuff to take. But before you get yourself into buying a sleep stack, just start with the simple, like the most simple way to get a better sleep is just to make sure that you have enough magnesium and electrolytes in your body. And as I said last week, there are 4 types of magnesium, and the one specific that we need for the nervous system is called magnesium bisglycinate. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well, but that's how you write it. And that's the one that is going to have a massive impact on your nervous system. And what I'm saying massive impact is that it's going to help your nervous system calm down. So help the transition from sympathetic mode to a more parasympathetic mode. Now, if the magnesium is not enough, then you can start considering stuff like L-theanine, which many people have tried it, and they are good. However, there is one thing I have to say, and that is if you are on sleep medication or any antidepressants, then ask me before having any of these besides magnesium, okay? Because, for example, L-theanine, I take both sleep medications and antidepressants because of the anxiety and whatever happened to me last year. So because of that, I cannot take any of the natural stuff besides magnesium, just because, as I explained as well last week, there are some free receptors, and it's the same with the caffeine. Where with the caffeine and the creatine, it happens this, that if you have caffeine, the same receptors that link into the caffeine are the same receptors that link into the creatine on your brain. So that means that if you have one, then the other one will knock down the effects of the previous one. So if you have any antidepressants, or if you have to take any antidepressants or any sleep medication, but when I say sleep medication, is that it has been prescribed to you by a doctor, then the only thing safe for you to have on top of that will be magnesium. Okay, is that clear?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I thought I lost you for a little bit. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. I will send this presentation because I already spoke about sleeping on a dark cave, and when it means a dark cave is really, really, really dark, the darker the better. So for example, one of my requirements for me to move into this flat, because the lady really, really, really like us, but my bedroom goes towards the street, and although it is a very quiet street here, there is no one that passes at night, because this is very like families living here. It's not a principal road. There is a post light in front of my house, so with the curtains it wasn't dark enough, so I asked her to get
Blinds.
yes, what is the name? What is the name of that? But one of those things that you just pull it down and then your room with that. Yes, because again, we want to make sure that we are not confusing our body with the lights. So in my situation, my circadian rhythm was completely lost. So the medication that I'm taking, or I have been taking in the last year, was in order to get my circadian rhythm back on track. Now, my case is completely different to any of your case, because I was misprescribed originally with a medication that did a lot of harm to my health. Fixing the circadian rhythm, it takes a while, as Luan has experienced, but it shouldn't take as long as it has taken me. but it has taken me longer than normal because of how much damage the other medication did into my body. So my body didn't know when was the day, when was night. It had no idea. So what we have been doing with this doctor is kind of slowly bringing my cardio, my circadian rhythm into a normal way of functioning, and for that reason I need to help myself as well. And one of the main helps that I could do is making sure, after everything else that I mentioned, also that the room is dark enough, because we know that if there is some sort of light, then we are still producing we are not producing the melatonin in our brain. Remember, melatonin only gets released in your brain as soon as the body starts sensing that it's nighttime, okay? So if you are sleeping on a very bright room, that is great for when it comes to wake up, because you wake up with the light of the day, but it's not so great for the sleep quality. So you might be able to sleep, but if we really dig deep into your sleep quality, and that is when you have a monitor that tells you how long was your REM and how long was your deep, then perhaps the quality of that sleep is not the best. Now I'm gonna leave it like up to here, because I'm conscious that it's later for you. I moved the call to a later point, but before I go, as usual, I want to see if you guys have like a burning question. I have no rush, I'm doing it just mainly for you. If you have any burning question on anything that you want me to touch upon before the next week call.
No, to be honest, I think you covered everything, because you probably, because I was late, but you probably covered, and you mentioned that last week as well, right? That's related to melatonin and cortisol, that it's useful to train your body to go out for 15 or 30 minutes a day. So your body feels, the ray, the sunshine, the rays.
Yes. It is good.
That actually, and I agree with that 100%, tested as well.
You test it as well, even on
Yes.
winter, because we tend to believe, oh, because there is no sun out there, it's not going to have the same effect. And yes, somehow it doesn't have the same effect. And that's why in countries like this one, during winter time is so crucial for you to get maybe by your doctor to get some vitamin D3. The reason why I don't prescribe vitamin D3 to clients, look, at some point when I was very new into my career, I used to prescribe everything to everyone. But then with the time, I understood that you need to be really careful with what you prescribe to people, because of the potential side effects that it might causes into people. Obviously, when I was new, I didn't know. I didn't have any health issues myself, and I was very young, so I thought everyone was okay. But now, obviously, the more I know, the more I step myself back from prescribing supplements that are non-harmful, like creatine, which I know 100% is not harmful for you, omega-3s, which are not harmful, or even better, krill oils, magnesium, electrolytes, which it might seem really plain for you, or maybe you were looking to get something more sophisticated, but those are my go-to that I know that is not going to give you any side effect, and I'm not going to be playing with your health in another way. The reason why I don't prescribe vitamin D3 myself is because the vitamin D3, although it's called vitamin, is actually an hormone. And if you, for example, are not lacking on vitamin D3, you shouldn't be taking it as a supplement either. So I think that is something that has to be more regulated in terms of the way they sell it, because you can buy vitamin D3 from bulk powders from everywhere, really. If you go Holland and Barrett, you can buy vitamin D3. But in reality, if you do vitamin D3, is almost as bad as if you are lacking vitamin D3.
Yeah, it's got side effects. It's not good. But also, I mean, you can do blood tests, right, regularly to check the level of that.
Exactly. So there are blood tests now, super easy to make. One of them is just to take your saliva sample and then you send it over and they send it back to you and they tell you what deficiencies you have. And then in that case, yes, you don't need a doctor, but you just need to make sure that you are not deficient. However, on winter, and especially someone who tends to suffer from the depression or low mood, should be looking into something like vitamin D exposure, and that is going for a walk outside, even if it's cloudy, but during the daytime, because the skin has still the power to get the rays from the sun. I say sol, which is Spanish, from the sun. So yes, make sure that, especially now that we are more into training or working at home, go outside for like 15 minutes walk, 15 to 30 minutes. It does not just, it's not for the sake of getting the vitamin D, but also just to change scenarios, not
It's
to
good
be
for your brain, for getting the vitamin D and for moving your limbs, right?
for moving your limbs, getting a fresh air. As long as it's not running, I would recommend everyone to spend maximum 30 minutes of your day outside. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was this somehow helpful?
Yeah, it was a really good like overview of all the other things to consider when like you're trying to, for me to fix my sleep, and like just good reminders about caffeine. So I have been drinking caffeine now on the weekends.
Yeah.
And so while I'm still trying to, I'm still in the early days of fixing my sleep, but I'm just, I'm missing caffeine. So I'm just like, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, it would be nice to have something to get me going. But you're right about it being adaptation, because with time, there'll be some days where I have more energy, where maybe I've eaten better the night before.
Can you try ginger shots, for example? Like, can you do like a ginger juice with, I don't know, apple
I do that. Yeah, I do ginger and
That's what I
turmeric.
used to do.
But I don't do it for working out. I just do it for like after I had my meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, ginger shots are amazing because they give you exactly the same energy that the coffee gives you, but better, because what the coffee does is that it takes you into like a roller coaster. Like you just go really, really high and then you just crash. The higher you go, the harder you crash. Whilst ginger, what it does, it gives you sustainable energy. So it releases slowly into the bloodstream, which means that you don't feel that massive hike or that massive that massive jump at the beginning, and therefore you might trick yourself to believe that it's not working, but in fact it's actually doing better. And not just so much for energy, well, it does it for energy, but also it has amazing properties, anti-inflammatory properties, the same as turmeric. So I will start relying more on this type of beverages as opposed to coffee. But Luan, I'm not gonna lie, I love coffee. I love the taste. Like I love the smell. Yeah. It's like I cannot describe how much I love a coffee. But I had to teach myself, okay, what do I want? Do I want this cup of coffee and this time in the morning, or do I want to save it for later on if I really need it? And in fact, something that I'm doing on the weekends when I'm not training, which is on Sundays, I am stopping myself from having any coffee at all. Like I have one coffee a day, so I fast from having 5 coffees pre-workout. You're gonna fall asleep soon. You need to talk to me more often. But I pass from drinking excess of like caffeine to just one a day, and sometimes nil. And I don't feel like I need it. I mean, at the beginning, it's going to be a big transition. You're going to have headaches. Sometimes you might even get low moods. So when you're trying, getting out of coffee is almost as hard as getting out of any psychoactive drugs. In fact, caffeine, if you didn't know, girls, is considered to be the most used psychoactive drug in the world. And the reason why they don't ban it, or the reason why they don't make it more public, that is damage and detrimental for you, is because there is a lot of monetary interest behind it.
Yeah, the whole industry. Yeah. whatever.
Exactly. All the American companies, Starbucks and all of that, will lose the jobs out of the blue. But if you go to the, there is a book with all the mental disorders. There is anxiety driven by excess of caffeine, and there is as well sleep insomnia driven by caffeine, and it's all because as I say, the caffeine is so strong that it works almost as no, it is a psychoactive drug. So getting out of that drug is gonna be almost as hard as getting, I don't know if you have been into any recreational drugs. I haven't, but I experienced it with the drug that they sent me, which turned out to be almost as strong as heroin. So for me, getting out of that was a whole of a deal. So getting out of caffeine was nothing compared to that. But I did experience the headache. I did experience the low mood. I did experience going to the gym and not wanting to train. But nowadays, literally, I feel like I am at best in terms of productivity. I am at my best in terms of studying and focus. I am at my best in terms of how I feel on my body. I am at my best in terms of how I am doing my training, and it's all done with my own energy. I'm not using anything. I mean, I passed from using everything, everything legal, to not using. I mean, I have 1 cup of coffee like 2 hours before training. It's not even just before training, because I have my coffee around 11ish. And then I train around 2, 3. So I'm not even having the coffee for the sake of training. I'm just having the coffee because I love the coffee and I know I can have one, and it gives me it doesn't do anything bad to me. But if I have 2, then I start feeling palpitation, I start having headache, I can't focus, I get in a bad mood. So yeah, that is basically the learning from today. So I know we went a little bit longer, but I'm very happy that you girls managed to join, even if it was later. We're gonna just retake it every Thursday at 6:30. So if you can join, you're welcome. If not, then I will just crack ahead like I did today by myself. And then if you jump later on, okay, you know that I will be posting these on the Facebook group anyway. And if you have any questions for next week, put them in the group that I will do some research, and I will also send you this PDF if it's somehow helpful. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much, Stella.
All right, ladies, have a good evening and talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.
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 How do I